Greetings, my champions of the light, and welcome back to another episode of Light Be With You. Back to Grind Stoutmantle, and he had wanted me to find a Defias messenger, beat him up, and collect a secret document. Fortunately, I come across a random rogue, who straight away assumes that I am after the messenger, and after I am invited to the group, without so much as a hello, I follow the rogue all the way. We stop at a nearby mine, and the rogue asks me to watch their back, as they stealth on in, and have a look to see if the messenger is inside. Now, to be honest, my friends, I do get a little nervous. If they get spotted inside that cave, they could potentially perish. Thankfully, the rogue makes it out alive, but they did not find the Defias messenger, so we continue the path, further south following the road. And once again, I am asked by the rogue to watch the path behind us, while they go and check the quarry nearby. And of course, my friends, once again the rogue does not find the Defias messenger. I'm honestly starting to believe that the rogue has no idea where the Defias messenger actually is, when suddenly out of nowhere we come across the Defias messenger. And of course, a mage of all people, well, they tag the messenger, and well, let's just say they're not going to invite us, and they appear to be trying to save it for their friend. And of course, being a rogue, well, this rogue isn't very happy about that, and decides to just kill it out of pure spite. I reluctantly follow the rogue to the town of Moonbrook, and it appears the rogue intends to wait here. Perhaps this is the respawn for the Defias messenger. The rogue has a strange conversation with another rogue, and of course, I'm not able to see this individual. But before long, this other rogue is invited to the group, and shortly after that, my friends, the Defias messenger, he respawns. He tries to make a quick getaway, but it's no use, and the two rogues quickly make short work of the Defias messenger. And after collecting the secret document from the Defias messenger, we head over to Sentinel Hill once more. The rogue is clearly eager to make it back on time, and so I do everything I can to chase after them. Fortunately, my friends, I finally make it back to Sentinel Hill, and as a reward for finding the secret letter, Grind Stoutmantle gives me over 1300 experience points. And what do you know? An escort quest, and thankfully the rogue did wait for me this time. The rogue and I escort the Defias traitor to Moonbrook. And my friends, other than the Defias traitor being attacked by a random vulture, it appears that other adventurers have already cleared the town, and so we are able to stroll right on over to the Defias hideout. And my friends, with the entrance to the Defias hideout finally uncovered, it's time to return to Grind Stoutmantle one last time. And of course he gives me 1700 experience points, and I unlock probably the most exciting quest we will see in a long time. A quest to collect the head of Edwin Van Cleef, and in return I could receive the Staff of Westfall, a very powerful item. And I ventures to the top of the tower, and one of the scouts there offers me a quest to collect bandanas while I am in the Deadmines. That is right, my friends. We will finally be venturing into the Deadmines. It is the first time I have ever healed a dungeon, so if I'm not able to save someone, well, they'll be dead forever. And my friends, before we head over to the Deadmines, there are a few preparations that must be made. We begin by heading to the Innkeeper in Stormwind, and I do well to empty my bags of any junk. I then head over to the bank and deposit my herbs. I will not need these in the Deadmines. Now, my friends, I intend to collect many treasures from the Deadmines, and so, even though I have emptied my bags, I decide to splash out on a rune cloth bag. That's a 14 slotter, and you better believe it costs a lot of gold. I am thinking that if I'm going to perish in the Deadmines, I may as well have a 14 slot bag. And my friends, the thought of perishing doesn't exactly inspire confidence, and I realize I should probably stock up on a large number of mana potions. Fortunately, these mana potions are quite inexpensive. Some of you may believe this is a little extreme, but I'm not willing to put the lives of others on the line. And come to think of it, I should probably be a responsible healer, and purchase plenty of melon juice for the journey ahead. And what do you know, in the middle of the trade district, a friendly tailor is handing out free bags. I snagged the last 10-slot bag, and now I have even more space to hoard my treasure from the Deadmines. Now, my friends, with the preparations finally complete, I head over to the Dwarven District. I find a dwarf in one of the taverns, and he wants me to venture into the Deadmines, which I'm planning to do anyway. Deep within the Deadmines, it turns out some of the miners there, well, let's just say they are cursed. And though their souls have left this world, and are likely up there with the light, their bodies still crawl around the caverns, forced to mine away in death, as they did in life. And to prove I have put the bodies of the miners to rest, and brought peace to their souls, I must bring back some union cards and the badge of their foreman as well. Now there is one last quest that remains. Now my friends, I have no idea what a Spreckle Sprocket is. I certainly don't know what it looks like, and so let us just hope that we'll know what it is when we see it. With the quest for the Deadmines collected, I make my way back to Sentinel Hill. Once I arrive in Moonbrook, I'm a little disheartened. There don't appear to be that many adventurers nearby. In fact, Moonbrook is just full of bandits. And so, my friends, this could pose a problem. If I can't find adventurers to venture with me into the Deadmines, well, let's just say we may have just hit a roadblock. And to make matters worse, my friends, I noticed that the Summon Stone says that Deadmines recommends level 17, and what do you know, I'm only level 16, and so I am not able to use the group finder tool to either list myself or find another group, and so I do the next best thing. I type into general chat and I ask if anyone is in need of a healer. I even try the looking for group channel, but as you probably guess, I am ignored as well. I make one final attempt and I ask the guild. And this time, my friends, I do actually get a response. It turns out they believe that in hardcore WoW, level 16 is actually too low level. And so, despite all the preparations we had made, and all the quests we had collected, it doesn't appear that I am going to be able to get into a Deadmines group anytime soon. We now have an urgent mission. We must reach level 17 by the end of this episode. For you see, my disciples, I do not want to make any of you wait a moment longer. And so I make a mad dash back to Stormwind City. And upon visiting the auction house, I find that I can buy 5 flasks of oil for a very reasonable price. Now, my friends, someone in the last episode actually commented that there is an easy quest that I can complete. All I have to do is head over to Barras Alexton, the city architect, and what do you know, he wants us simply to visit his old house in Westfall and search for his compass. I return to Westfall. As I approach through the tree line, I notice that the farmstead is infested with Defias bandits. Fortunately, I notice a priest nearby, and she even offers to invite me to a group. I join the priest, and it turns out, my friends, if you sneak over to the back of the house, and you're careful enough, you can actually reach through the wall and grab the compass right from the chest. And therefore, you do not need to clear the entire building of bandits. I am pleased to see that there are others who follow the path of the light, and after I depart from this kind priest, I make my way over to the Westfall Lighthouse. As I approach the lighthouse from the sea, I meet up with a friendly ghost, Captain Grayson. All he wants is 5 flasks of oil to maintain the lighthouse. And what do you know, I had bought them off the auction house just moments earlier. Typically, these flasks of oil can be obtained from harvest golems, but as you know, that would require direct combat, and as I'm sure you're aware, that would break our holy commandments. We must harm no creatures. We must sacrifice ourselves for others, doing everything within reason to save lives. And we must not beg for help or carries. And so, my friends, we have come to a standstill, as I believe there are no more quests in Westfall that do not require me to break a holy commandment. And I make my way back to Stormwind City, and I hand the city architect his fabled compass. I then make my way to the Deeprun tram. And of course, my friends, I board the tram, and after a speedy journey, I am brought to the city of Ironforge. And I take a griffin from Ironforge all the way to the serene town of Felsamar. We have no time to spare, and as far as I'm concerned, my friends, I can't hold out on venturing into the Deadmines a moment longer. If we want to reach level 17, we are going to have to travel to the distant land of Darkshore. That is right, my friends. The Wetlands Run is probably not the safest journey for a level 16, and it's proven to me quite early on as I get a few arrows through me from some Dragonmaw orcs. Fortunately, the light does protect me, and I make it through the pass. And I have to be honest, my friends, I do feel quite nervous. There are plenty of foes nearby that would easily be able to defeat me, and unlike in Lakeshire, there are no guards nearby to run my problems to. And so, my friends, as I continue the wetlands run, avoiding skull-level orcs and crocolisks many levels higher than me who can't wait to take a bite, it turns out the light protected me all along, and I actually do make it to Menethil Harbour in one piece. There are no quests for me here, my friends, but after picking up the flight path and boarding the vessel, I arrive in Darkshore. Now, my friends, despite the name Darkshore, well, it's not even that dark. Unlike Duskwood, which is far darker in my opinion. All we have to do here is find some easy quests we can complete that don't require us to engage in combat. The first quest I come across is one for cave mushrooms, but as I am sure you can probably guess, I'm not willing to put my life on the line by entering a naga-infested cave. However, Sentinel Glinda, she simply wants me to travel east of Oberdeen and find a large red crystal in the mountain range. And what do you know? Thanarian Tree Tender simply wants us to capture a thistle bear. And inside the building nearby, a night elf named Terenthis simply wants us to find a corrupt Firbolg camp in Darkshore. Well, I'm happy to go find things for sure, provided I do not have to do battle with these Firbolgs. And I even find another quest from Gwyneth,
Blaylegond.
and all she wants me to do is recover some sea creature bones from a beached sea creature. However, the Murlocs nearby, they may be another story, and it turns out my Psychic Scream has a limit of 2 targets, and so I make a second attempt, and this time I am able to collect the sea creature bones. I then venture south into Darkshore, and what do you know, in the distance I notice what appears to be a Firbolg camp, and it turns out I was right on the money, and all I have to do is approach the very outskirts of the camp, and that completes my quest. I then venture even further south, where I come across a random thistle bear. I place my trap down and I don't even need to lure the bear nearby. It simply becomes captured from a very far away distance for some reason. But I'm not complaining. I have an easy quest, all I have to do is get some rubbings from these tablets. But the ghosts nearby, let's just say they are proving to be a bit of a pain. And to make matters worse, it appears they are immune to my Psychic Scream. So my friends, we will have to abandon this quest for now. But I do venture even further into the south, and I even find this old guy called Prospector Rumtravel, and simply for finding him I gain quite a bit of experience. However, my friends, he wants me to protect him as he ventures into this excavation, and you better believe I'm not going to take that risk. I head north, making the long journey back to Oberdeen, but then I decide to take a detour. I know I'll need more experience points, and so I make my way over to the mountain range, and what do you know? Behind a flock of curious moonkin, I find the red crystal, and I just look at it and my quest is complete. I make a mad dash for Oberdeen, and I return the bear to Thanarian, and he gives me quite a bit of experience points, but I simply can't bring myself to take the follow-on quest. He wants me to slaughter 20 of the bears, the same bear that I had befriended just before. I then give Terenthis the news that there is indeed a Firbolg camp, and I had found it. And of course he asked me to slaughter the Firbolg within, but as you know, my friends, this goes against our holy commandments. I return to Sentinel Glinda, and she is very pleased that I had found the red crystal. However, much to my dismay, she gives me a very small amount of experience points, and hands me a glass vial. She then instructs me to fill it with Moonwell water, and she wants me to head back over to that red crystal and pour it on top. What could possibly go wrong? I return to Gwyneth, and she's very pleased that I had found the skeletal remains of that sea monster, and upon seeing that I am quite reliable, she sends me to gather a sample from a fallen sea turtle. Once again, I am happy to oblige, and I'm pleased to see that all the nearby sea monsters, well, they've already been slain, and so I have nothing to fear. I return the sea turtle remains, and my friends, I am now very close to level 17, and so we find ourselves once more venturing into Darkshore's woods. I find the red crystal and I pour the Moonwell water on it. Simply by doing that, I am now level 17. I make my way back to Oberdeen. I may as well tell Sentinel Glinda what happened, which really was nothing at all. With my adventures here in Darkshore complete, I, Hearthstone, and I am brought back to Sentinel Hill. Now my friends, we have successfully made it to level 17. But before we go my friends, as you can see, since I am now level 17, I am finally able to see groups for the Deadmines in the group finder. This means my friends, I now can find groups for the Deadmines, and we will finally be able to venture into our first dungeon experience. And so my friends, please consider tuning in to the next episode. And always remember, light be with you.